They are leaderless, yellow-vested protesters who for 8 weeks have gathered at roundabouts and city centres all across France. What began as a small but vocal opposition to a new fuel tax has now morphed into a mass movement and a national debate about lower living standards. Authorities are warning that this weekend's demonstrations could be bigger and even more violent. Sky's Europe correspondent Mark Stone reports from the town of Lille in northeast France.
Step away from the city clashes and the violence to the roundabouts of French towns and villages. You'll find the Yellow Vest movement is more nuanced, more thoughtful. These are the voices and the faces of a fight to change France.
Hello, my name is Lysiane.
My name is Amelie.
I'm Julian.
I'm an old military.
I don't have a job.
And I'm a young mother.
I'm here because I'm fighting for our rights.
This group, like others right across the country, didn't know each other until the movement started 8 weeks ago. They've been brought together by a cause and a vest.
A yellow jacket is a symbol. Everybody can have this jacket and go in the streets and say, I'm not okay with this society, I'm not okay with this government, I'm not okay with capitalism.
Like we're saying, we're not against people getting rich, but we have people working and then not joining the two bits at the end of the month. By the 10th of the month, most of the 80% of the French people are working, cannot feed properly their children, they have a lot of taxes to pay. That's what we're against.
Even find a job, it's very hard. Yeah. Even if we have diploma, qualifications, it's very, very hard, and for a little pay.
How long have you been searching for a job?
For a job, that's 6 months now. And now I'm just stuck. I can do nothing.
French people are very patient. We've been patient for years, hoping that the next government is going to do a change. Okay? So we waited for the next, and the next, and the next, and we see no changes. We only see talking, but we don't see the impact in what we have in our plates.
Je pense qu'il y a eu un ras-le-bol total. Je pense que la taxe a été le truc qui a fait soulever tout le monde, mais ça faisait des mois, des années que ça couvait.
And then when you're a politic and you work in Macron's government, you earn 8,000 euros plus cars, houses, extras. You don't pay taxes, whatever. So it's not logical that those who are leading the people live over the people.
What's striking is that they see no politician who can help them. They're leaderless, and they like it that way.
So the fight is in the streets. The fight is in the movement, not in the vote.
I'm assuming that none of you voted for Macron in the election.
Maybe some because they don't have choice.
I vote only against Le Pen because it's not in my brain. I can't. It's not possible for me to vote for Le Pen. So I vote Macron, and because I have no choice. I have no choice.
What can Macron do in material terms? What can he actually do to take you off the streets? Well, you say he should quit, you say he should quit, but you were telling me he shouldn't quit.
I believe in democracy, so I believe in voting, right?
Yeah.
So if we voted for a president, I believe if we want to put a president out, we need to vote him out. But what he can do now, if he wants to have a little bit of honor, of respect, of being able to walk in the streets of France freely, let them give the people what they earn for their work.
But you think he should just quit?
No, I think if he really wants to stop, he has to totally change his politics and to make a radical change. But I think it's never going to happen.
Et voilà, Macron ne sera pas la solution, les autres ne seront pas forcément la solution, nous on sera la solution. C'est tout ce qu'on dit.
Back at the roundabout, the police politely ask them to move on. They oblige, but they'll be back tomorrow. Mark Stone, Sky News, in northeastern France.
The French Prime Minister says 80,000 police will be on duty across the country tomorrow for the 9th weekend of anti-government protests by the so-called Gilets jaunes. The demonstrations first began in protest against rising fuel taxes, but now it seems any grievance is enough reason to don a yellow safety vest and take to the streets.
The French government had hoped the Christmas break would bring an end to these protests, but weekend number 9 in towns and cities across France will show there is life in the yellow vests yet. Speed cameras are their latest target. An astonishing 60% of the cameras on French roads have now been damaged or destroyed. Tax rates, the banks, the constitution itself are all now on the list of grievances of a movement that a leading politician, admittedly one sympathetic to their cause, believes could see the end of President Macron himself.
It's exactly like King Louis XVI.
Louis XVI.
Who was completely cut from his people. And the end was not so good for him.
But that would be a revolution, even if there isn't a guillotine at the end of it.
Of course. It's the beginning of a revolution. It is the beginning of a revolution.
And true to revolutionary tradition, it's the violence that's keeping the protests in the headlines across Europe. Last weekend, it was a former French cruiserweight boxing champion whose vicious assault on a policeman has dominated the news here ever since. That incident on this bridge sparked an impromptu test of public opinion. People started raising money for the boxer d'Étanger, currently on remand and facing jail. It raised 150,000 euros or so before the authorities stopped it. In response, though, ordinary French citizens began donating to the police, and that raised 10 times as much. But the headlines have reflected the overriding emotion here. When will this end? The police put the blame squarely on a small minority. The gendarmerie knows, says a spokeswoman, that people have infiltrated the yellow vests purely for vandalism and looting. While those who lead the protests blame the violence of the authorities, they recognise the role it has played. Violence has been important to maintaining momentum here, hasn't it? To keeping you in the public eye.
Nous appelons à être pacifistes.
We want to be pacifists, he said, but that doesn't mean that one day, perhaps, we won't be forced to put up barricades like French history teaches us. For now, it's not barricades, but boards that are going up on banks and shops along the Champs-Élysées and across Paris. It seems these protests aren't simply going to peter out. Something is going to have to give, or we may not have seen the worst of it yet. James Mates, News at 10, Paris.